Hello, everyone. I'm Bill Ritter of wabc-tv Channel 7 Eyewitness News, and welcome to another edition of The Countdown, our election coverage of the 2020 race for the White House on abc7ny.com and all of our social media platforms. Tonight, a look at the Nevada Democratic caucus on Saturday night. That's when the votes start counting. 36 delegates up for grabs, the third caucus or election in this 2020 primary season. And joining us tonight to discuss, ABC News political director Rick Klein. He's in Washington, and here in New York, political consultant Hank Scheinkoff. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us once again for Countdown. Let me just get it off the top. What stakes are in play here for Nevada? Rick?
Well, Nevada could be the state where Bernie Sanders starts to take a lead. If he wins, as polls have suggested he's in a strong position to do, he'll probably end the day with the delegate lead nationally, and it may be a lead that he never surrenders. The key for the other candidates, I think, is to try to keep it close, hold those margins down, and show that you can compete everywhere in a very complicated state with a lot of unpredictable elements. It's also the first state with a significant portion of minority voters, a heavily Latino population in Nevada. So for those candidates saying you can't win without the support of minority voters, this is a chance to do it.
And one person who's not on the ballot, Michael Bloomberg, who's rating pretty high in the polls, but he's not on the ballot in Nevada.
Not on the ballot in Nevada, but this is really a very important day for Elizabeth Warren. Lose here, get killed, dead. Goodbye.
You really believe that?
Oh, yeah, because what has she got left after that? Bernie Sanders will pick up that left, as Rick notes, and run like hell.
And will he get an unbeatable amount of delegates? Not yet. It's too early.
Not yet. I mean, you know, look, the unions, culinary workers will determine a lot of what goes on here. Let's see what they do with a guy named Sanders from Vermont versus a woman from next door Massachusetts. I mean, they could vote for her too. She'll save herself.
So Rick, Hank says that if Elizabeth Warren doesn't do well here and maybe win, it's curtains for her. What about the other candidates who are on the ballot? Buttigieg especially, and Klobuchar. Yeah,
Buttigieg and Klobuchar, look, they had good performances in New Hampshire, but the question has been, how do they catch on nationally? They had no organization really to speak of on the scale of a Sanders in Nevada, so they've had to build things on the fly, and they need to show they can do it. Both of them have challenges in reaching out to black and brown voters, so this is a state that could offer some answers or maybe some very tough love and tough news. Joe Biden's got his sights set on South Carolina a week later. That's a heavily African-American electorate on the Democratic side. That's a key constituency for him, quite obviously. And look, I mean, you can't look at this and not realize that the stakes are high for anyone that wants to present themselves as the alternative to Bernie Sanders. He has the potential to get just an enormous head of steam out of these early states and start building up an actual delegate lead. And I think that's the urgency that you saw at the debate. And I would note on Elizabeth Warren, her campaign, very confident after that debate performance, having some record-setting fundraising hauls that she desperately needs.
And she's got it, but she can't just say, I'm doing well, Hank.
She's got to do better. She's got to somehow become the left, or at least get enough away from Bernie Sanders to want to continue to play, because they're on the same side of the spectrum.
And she did something, Hank, and I'll get to Rick your opinion in a second. She did something this last week that she said she would never do, and that is she's now taking super PAC monies.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's amazing how ambition changes everything.
Is it desperation or ambition, Rick?
Well, I guess it's a little of both. I mean, it's realism. I mean, she sat there on a debate stage and lectured Pete Buttigieg about having a super PAC that supports him. And of course, now she's saying, well, you can't. It's not realistic to expect that you're not going to have one. This has been that's a major shift that I think has been a little bit lost in the news of the week. And if she's able to deliver a victory, I would see that super PAC whirring into life in other places, because realistically, that's the only way that she can be competitive with some of her better funded rivals.
What did your parents used to say? Never say never. I mean, that's the problem with saying never.
Look, in politics, there is no never, and there is no I'm not going to raise the money. I mean, let's be real. She wants to be in the White House. All this ideological discussion is great, but she wants to be the president. There's only one way you get there. You run like hell and you raise the money. And
that's what you're trying to do. One person who's running for the president and running like hell for the president and spending a lot of money, all his own, more than $470 billion or something, $464 million so far, mostly in ads, is Mike Bloomberg. He is not on the ballot in Las Vegas, but boy, Rick, he's just about everywhere else with these billboards that he put up so that one person would see them. Really, meant an audience of one, Donald Trump. And they just sort of know how to dig a knife in. He knows how to do this to Trump and get under his skin. The billboards say things like, you know, Trump likes burnt steak. He cheats at golf. He's gone bankrupt at running a casino in Las Vegas. Signs that Mr. Trump will see as he goes from the airport to a rally Friday night in Las Vegas.
Yeah, Donald Trump has been running his own kind of ads. He's had flyovers on airplane signs over a bunch of the Democratic debate sites. That same idea of just kind of trolling the others. And Bloomberg is trying to show that he can troll right back, get a little bit of a laugh. And I continue to think this campaign is doing very smart things in addition to very expensive things in trying to hack their way into this process as much as they are spend their way into it.
Smart things, Hank, but this is coming on the heels of a debate where he did not appear very prepared for some of the questions that he had to know were going to be asked about stop and frisk and about the sexist things he's allegedly said in his company.
He's not used to being in that kind of setting where you're just set upon by wild dogs, which is what occurred. When you're on the move and the others are starting to flail, guess what? They're going to come after you, and they're going to chop him down. And Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, one millionaire, one trying to spend a millionaire's bucks, are going to do whatever they got to do. And I don't think Bloomberg's experienced people on the left like that. Mark Green, Freddie Ferrer, Bill Thompson, not the same. These are people who have done nothing but relished being president and will do anything to get there.
And Bloomberg hadn't done a debate in 10 years when he did it here at Eyewitness News the last time. And these guys are in, to quote David Axelrod, in mid-season form. They're well equipped to do.
These are trained boxers. They've been out there doing it every day. They've been doing their routines, hitting the bag, jumping up and down. They got lots of wind. Mike Bloomberg got his wind back, and he's compensated likely for a lot of what occurred by use of social media in the last 24 to 48 hours.
Rick, I have to say, I watched the debate, and I think that a lot of people were sort of surprised that Mr. Bloomberg was not better prepared for this. With all the money he has, you think that a media trainer or somebody in that preps that he had for the mock debates would have prepared him more for this and better answers to the questions that were obvious. But these people, men and women, were attacking Mr. Bloomberg. He was almost single-handedly responsible for helping to flip the Congress to Democratic majority in 2018 because of the funding he was responsible for to make these candidates win.
I don't think they're going to give him that kind of credit, to be honest, Bill. A lot of people were spending a lot of money, and he deserves a share of credit, certainly. But for the Democrats on that stage, they viewed it as absolutely presumptuous and even offensive that he would come in and his campaign put out a memo that day saying everyone else has to drop out so that Bernie Sanders can be beat and I'll be the one to beat him. He hadn't won a single vote yet, and I think he was reminded of that fact, that very uncomfortable fact on stage. Look, just because you can hire a lot of expensive people doesn't make you good at something, but I think he's going to get a lot of coaching, and I don't know if it makes it better or worse that he was coached the first time. It's not like they were unaware of the attacks he was going to wither.
Well, the Beatles said it best years ago. Money can't buy me love. And he didn't get it, did it?
Money can't buy you love. But again, if you're on the move and you got the dough and your numbers are starting to move and you just got there, guess what your opponents are going to do? They're going to break your legs.
Are we going to have a victor, a guy who's going to be close by Super Tuesday? You think so?
It's likely. Bernie Sanders told everybody the other night, he said, well, it doesn't matter, whatever. I'm going to do whatever I got to do. Never mind party rules. And he sneered about it. That tells you where this could go.
And you think if Bernie Sanders gets this nomination, what happens to the Democrats?
He's a radical influencer, and anytime political scientists, again, scholars know this very well, when you have these radical influencers, they tend to change the system as it functions. We've had it before in American history, time and time again. This party will never be the same. The Republicans haven't been the same since Trump. They are now a regional operation with tentacles into other parts of the country. Democrats are bicoastal, trying to pick up something in the middle. Bernie Sanders is a problem because he can't get to that middle.
And Hank, you raised a very good point. The Republicans haven't been the same. I don't think that Mr. Trump was the same before as he was this last week, Rick. He was a man in full bloom in terms of understanding the power that he now has. Yeah,
and I think you're starting to see him flex some muscle and clear out people that he views as disloyal to him, pardon individuals who have political connections and were guilty of white-collar crimes, maybe as a pretext to do additional pardons for people like Roger Stone and Paul Manafort. This is a president that is supremely confident in his abilities, always has been, and now he's even more confident that the guardrails don't have to be on. And I think you're going to see him unleashed in the months ahead and in pretty strong position for re-election, depending on how the Democrats nominate.
He beats Bernie Sanders by going to states that he's never really won before, with better numbers. That's what's going to happen here, because that schism between right and left will be so extreme. It's a choice between ideology or eating. And Trump says, by the way, I've helped you eat. Would you like to have my ideology? People say, wait a second, I'd rather eat.
And are they going to, last question, Rick, are the ardent fans going to believe that the economy is booming as much for them? They're going to see that really the economy is booming mostly for uber wealthy people, and that's the reality of this economic boom.
Well, I think it's a big question for Democrats. They're not willing to cede the ground to say that, yes, the economy is doing great for everyone, because it flat isn't. And a lot of Democrats will just dispute that notion, and Democratic voters will as well. And look, if this is a base election, it's about motivating your people, not about persuading the middle. I feel like that was one lesson of a potential lesson out of 2016. Then I think any of these Democrats have at least an argument, just different segments of their own party that they appeal to.
It's good analysis. Look, anything can happen. Remember, we didn't have a guy named Trump, and we didn't have a guy named Buttigieg. They were no place, and now look. Let's look at the numbers, and let's look who's in the White House.
Things change very quickly, and the way we do elections and primaries and the race for the White House has changed, and I think it's probably changed forever, given what's happened in the last few years. All right, Rick Klein, Hank Scheinkoff, always a pleasure to have you and making the case for your analysis and for our viewers on the countdown. Both of you guys, thanks. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Bill.
And that's going to do it for this edition of the Eyewitness News Countdown. I'm Bill Ritter for Channel 7 Eyewitness News, and we thank you for watching. This was brought to you on our abc7ny.com platforms, all of them, and I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of it. Write some comments, and I'll try to get back to you on it. We're going to have countdowns throughout the rest of this election cycle, all leading up to November, hopefully for the debates and the primaries that ensue, and all the way up to the election in November. Thanks for watching, and for all of us here at Channel 7 and ABC7 NY, have a good day.